We can go now. There we go. Well, good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, March 6, 2014, and this is the Board of Selectmen meeting. First up on our agenda is a request for permission to hold the Bear Hill Triathlon on Sunday, June 29, 2014.
Hi, I'm Sue Reedy from the Harvard Lions Club, and we're doing our second annual, do I come up here?
Sure.
Our second annual triathlon on June 29th, and we're requesting permission to use about 2 miles of the Bolton roads. So we'd be leaving Harvard Town Center about 8:15 in the morning. Then we up Bolton Road to, where it turns into Harvard Road and we cross into Bolton Green Road, and then up Bear Hill, and then we continue on to Scott Road back into Harvard. So it'd be from about 8:15 till 9 on that Sunday morning.
Okay.
And I've already spoken to Chief Albano, and he's given us his okay.
Okay.
And this was the same route you guys did
Exactly.
last year?
Yeah.
Just a couple of right-hand turns?
Yeah. And once again, and you had asked last year to notify the neighbors, and we had signs up and taped things on the mailboxes, so we would do that again just to let them.
And it's the Harvard Rotary that?
Harvard Lions Club.
Lions Club.
That's great.
Well, I move that we approve the Bear Hill Triathlon using Bolton's roads as indicated on the morning of Sunday, June 29th, 2014.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
I'll leave that with you. All right, thank you.
Next up, we have a request for permission to hold the 5th annual Harvard Firefighters Association Memorial Bike Ride on Saturday, May 31st, 2015.
Hi, same route, same place, same different day.
Different day.
It would not be a problem if we were trying to do it at the same time.
Yeah, that might be so good.
Talk to the chief.
Talked to the chief gave us our blessing this morning via email. Same route, it's the 31st of May that we're looking to do, which is the weekend after actually Memorial Day weekend. That was one of the first questions we got from the Harvard board.
Oh, so Memorial Day's early this year.
It's a little early.
Wow.
Now, you normally do this ride in the fall, right?
This is the first time we're actually
I've
working.
done it the past 2 years.
Oh, good. Well,
Yeah.
you'll like this one. We're working with the Minuteman Riding Club, and they're actually going to do some races. Our impact is maybe a little bit longer. We're going to start at about 8 o'clock in the morning. There's 4 different divisions that the bike racers go in. There's like a master's division, there's a semi-pro, there's a kind of the middle, medium, and then there's a women's division. And those races will stagger because we're going to do 2 races first in the morning at 8 o'clock, and then I think they leave at 8:10. Then we're going to do our bike ride, which doesn't come into Bolton. We're doing it in a different direction just for people that want a casual ride. And then we'll do 2 more races at the end, which will probably take us no later, I think, than about 12:30.
Cool.
But it was.
So this is a race route?
It is a race route, yeah.
Oh. And the Minuteman, so this is the race they're having that Sterling wouldn't let them have.
Exactly.
After 20 years, they decided that they didn't feel like it.
Yeah, it was. At least what they've told us is that we've chosen a route that doesn't impact the town as much. The biggest impact that it has is right up at the end. They come up Still River Road right in front of the general store. That's probably the biggest impact we have. But Sterling, in order to do it in Sterling, they really had to kind of divide the town into 2, which we don't have to do.
Yeah. Cool. But this road race, I mean, it's different than the triathlon where the people are going one at a time. This is, you're going to have a pack,
You're gonna have a pack
with a lead
that'll go.
car, and yeah.
You've been there before.
Right,
Yes.
but it is, I mean, for Bolton, it's not much of an inconvenience, and so, no, as long as the chief knows about this.
I had an email from him from this morning.
Okay. And what are the hours? Do you expect that the Bolton roads are going to be in play?
Well, it depends on how fast, but it'll, as you said, it's going to be a pack of riders going through, it'll probably take them to go that 2 miles, probably about, 5 minutes.
Right.
They'll be, the whole pack will be gone. But it starts at 8 o'clock, so it's whatever it takes them to get it. I think it's in Bolton at about
the morning?
Yeah. At about the 5 mile mark is when they're, so whatever it takes them to get at 8 o'clock and get about 5 miles into the race.
Yeah. Okay.
So figure, so it's 8 to 9, then you said there's a later group, more like
Yeah, there's
11.
probably eight to 9, and then another one that starts at like 10 to 10:30. So we'll probably pass through here a couple of times. I'm saying 12:30 just to be safe, but
Yeah.
probably before that.
All right, well, I move that we approve the request of the Harvard Firefighters Association to hold a ride and race on Warner Road, Harvard Road, Green Road, and Bear Hill Road on the morning of May 31st, 2014.
Second?
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
I should mention, and you probably know this, is that because it's a race, there's going to be insurance indemnification.
Yes.
Oh,
We need to get that.
Even-
Did you say we were there? We were told that, yeah, I'm sure it's you. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next up on our agenda is a request for approval of dugouts at Memorial Field. Doug, come on down. How are you, sir?
Hello, very well. How is everyone?
Good, good.
I'm here representing Bolton Youth Baseball. We have at Memorial Field 4 baseball fields, and our Majors Field, which is the one that has the snack shack and the fence around it and comes from the access road off the school road. We have 2 fenced-in dugouts right now. We would like to build a roof structure over them. This would entail digging out the current dugouts and putting in a gravel base and then a concrete slab. And then this is sort of a pole barn structure with 6 posts and a roof that just go on the slab. Same exact footprint that exists there now, and I would hope to not even move the fences, just build around everything. I have met with conservation and gotten their approval because there are some wetlands around there. And also got the approval of Parks and Rec. And I'd like to do it this spring before the baseball season, which is depending on the weather.
So, May.
Or July.
So it's just the one field that you're starting with, is that the,
We're gonna start with the one field, yep. We're trying to get some donations from lumberyards and such for materials. It'll probably be about $5,000 a dugout. So we'd like to do it at the Babe Ruth Field as well, but not this year.
Now, one of the fields has dugouts that were done, an eco project, right?
That's right,
Yeah.
there are dugouts at the softball
Yeah,
field.
yeah, okay.
And again, dugouts meaning a roof structure over a
yeah, I thought you were actually gonna be digging, yeah.
passe. The digging doesn't work very well, but,
Well, yeah, actually, I remember, it's
there,
like, it's
so
worth
a-
your life when the foul ball's coming right at you.
And the opposing team wouldn't catch you if you're
Yeah,
gonna fall into
yeah.
the dugout either.
And I'm fine with it. Works for me.
Yeah, no, I moved that we approve the request of, this is, you're representing who? The
Bolton Youth Baseball.
Bolton Youth Baseball to install the dugouts as indicated at Memorial Field.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We would also like to request your approval for our opening day festivities, which each year on the usually 3rd Saturday in April, which is April 26th this year, I believe, all right? We would hold our, we have done a parade down Main Street and then have festivities on the field afterwards. It's a Saturday.
Third Saturday would be the 19th.
Yeah, she wrote April 26th. though, right?
It's, let me look.
Saturday is April 26th.
So it's the second one of vacation, right? So it probably is the 26th.
The third Saturday is the 19th, the fourth
Yeah.
Saturday is the 26th.
Yeah, it's not the 19th, this is 26th, because it's the second in vacation, that's vacation week. It is the 26th.
And what are the hours that,
This says at 1 o'clock. It usually lasts about 3 hours, but, you know, the parade itself is probably a half hour. And we get the police and fire department involved, and, you know, they're part of it, but also,
They close down,
They
Main
close
Street,
down the
yeah.
road, so
that's
that's.
state highway?
No, state.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
we
sure
still have
we,
the power to do that.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah, no, I move that we approve the opening day, baseball opening day festivities on April 26th.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
David, do you have a question?
Yeah, are there any ownership issues here with the dugout? I assume they build it and the town owns it?
I would assume that how it works.
It's on town
Town
property.
property.
Town, I guess.
Just like the dugouts for the Eagle Scouts.
So like if they wanted to take them away or something, they'd have to come back to you and get permission?
I would assume so, yes.
Yeah, they're donating. to the
Relatively
town.
permanent
Yeah.
structure.
Seems like a low-risk contingency.
Well, rather than take away, substantially modify, which could happen at some point in the future.
We are under a conservation restriction there because it is close, you know, the entire field is surrounded by wetlands. And we have gone through conservation when we've done things in the past and make sure we get their approval because obviously they don't want us doing anything in that area without,
Yeah.
you know, being sure that we protect everything. And so this is the normal process, you know, we would go through and ask the boards and make sure it's okay.
Yep, okay.
I would just also point out, if anyone needs any baseball equipment, that this Saturday, Dick's in Leominster is having Bolton Youth Baseball Day, and it's 20% off for not only baseball equipment, but anything. So if you need any sporting equipment, I have coupons. If you just come, we can give it to you.
Cool.
That's the day I buy my golf clubs.
20% is a good deal.
Did you say this Saturday?
This Saturday,
Oh, you mean in 2 days?
in 2 days, at Dick's in Leominster.
Did you
And we
put it
will
in
have
the new
Bolton Youth
paper?
baseball people at a table there.
Cool,
Oh, great.
So we'll have extra coupons if anyone needs one.
cool. All right.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. All right, Mr. Administrator,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
tell us about Minuteman yet again.
We haven't discussed that for a while. We did
Yeah,
have-
why don't you explain that new agreement
We
again?
had a brief 20-minute presentation at Tri-Town last night. All I'm going to say about Minuteman this week is that
It's still there.
it is still there. Tomorrow, there is a breakfast beginning at 8:30 that I will be attending, that most, if not all, of the managers will be attending, as well as the legislators. It's a legislative breakfast, but I'm hoping all the managers are there. And we will be, at some point, the managers will be caucusing and doing a straw poll of the communities to see where the level of support is for the regional agreement. Because since we're operating under the rules of the current agreement, to change the agreement, all 16 communities have to approve it.
Ah, okay.
And if there's one outlier, then we've been derailed. So we're trying to sort out where any issues might be and see if, try to understand what the issues are and see if they can be addressed. So I would imagine that could be a fairly entertaining conversation tomorrow. So I don't know I don't know what the result of that is going to be. I just know that we felt that we should ourselves get together, and it may not be part of the session. Maybe we just may go off to the side somewhere and have a talk, but I have a feeling that the school personnel would like to hear as well. So, but I'll be out there for most of the morning tomorrow if anybody is looking for me. But there is nothing new on the regional agreement from last night.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just a question on Minuteman. You say all 16 towns have to approve. is non-disapproval count as approval, or does it have to be active approval?
No, someone, you're right, someone would need to vote to disapprove it.
So if they just ignore it, it's treated as though they had voted.
That's right.
Approved.
Absolutely right. So, yes, so someone has to take action and vote against it. As with most things that have to do with the district, if there is no meeting held or if there's no action taken, that's tantamount to approval.
But presumably, most towns, all towns are gonna have it on their
Every town will
warrant.
have it on their warrant.
Warrant, and
Yes.
so there isn't,
There's-
so there won't be that possibility
What I,
of.
from what I know, all 16 towns have it on their warrant.
Okay,
They could choose not to.
They could choose not
they
to.
could pass it over.
They could pass it over, yes, they could.
Okay.
Yes, they could, as long as they don't vote against it, it's good to go.
Have you engaged with the Parents Association to get them working on individual towns, or?
I don't know if
Okay.
the superintendent has engaged the Parents Association. He's been apparently leaving no stone unturned, so I would assume that.
I haven't seen any email from the Parents Association on it.
I'll have to ask him about that tomorrow.
Yeah.
As, I know he's traveling all over the district to meet with any groups that want to talk about
Yeah.
it, so.
They'll even cook you dinner.
He knows how to barbecue. Next, update on the grant application for the Regional Dispatch Implementation Study. Since our last meeting, I believe it was since our last meeting, I went to Devon's and had a tour of the facility with the executive director. Obviously a very impressive facility, it's brand new, it just opened last July. Very well equipped, it was very impressive. And I've also, I went over the list of pre-approved applicants for consultants, of which there are 11. And of that 11, only 3 are based in Massachusetts. So I called all 3 and have spoken with and already met with one who is a former state police officer, retired state police officer, and has done several of these grants in the past. What I thought was, personally, what I thought was backwards with this particular grant is you're advised that you obviously can't hire a consultant until after you have the grant award. Yet, part of the grant application is a budget. And I have no idea how to put together a budget for this type of thing. So when I checked with the 911 folks about that, they said, well, you can call a consultant or two and try to get a ballpark figure from them and, go with that, and then we'll make a decision since it is a competitive grant. Well, I met with this person, I thought he was thorough enough and has done enough of these that I thought working with him would be sufficient. And he has offered to put together a draft budget and also the first version of a draft narrative. And then if we get the grant and I choose him, then that's fine. If I were to choose someone else, then, he did it on spec, but I think it wouldn't be very ethical of me to do that, and I don't plan on doing that. So, assuming we get the grant award, I would plan on using this consultant. Since they're pre-approved, I don't need to go out for proposals or anything like that. I was very, very impressed with him, and when he left me, he was going on up to Devon's to meet with the director up there, whom he already knows. But I've made it clear that I want to look at both ends. I want to look at the benefits, or the benefits of of studying the implementation of bringing on Berlin, as well as looking at Devon's. And he was very clear on that. He said he thought that was a reasonable way to go. So I was very, very happy with the meeting. Any questions on that? Next, update on Devon's Regional Hazardous Waste Program. We had a quarterly meeting. The budget is looking solid at this time. I'm not worried about any shortfalls right now. We could have a bit of a surplus, but I won't, I'll worry about how we deal with the surplus once we have it. But right now, all the run rates look good. We've done some really good streamlining up there. We've saved money wherever we can. The feedback we're getting from the customers that are using it is that it's a very quick process. One person said, it takes longer to go to the ATM than it does to get rid of my hazardous waste. So I thought that was fantastic. Bolton's usage has been down a little lately. We were way up there in the beginning. It's been down a little, so,
Never had it all saved up.
yeah, I know. So,
Everybody's garage is empty now, so.
I asked Shelley to try to help advertise the fact that it's there, and since I'm talking about it, it is open this Saturday, and it's gonna be a beautiful day to take your waste out. So,
You can swing by Dick's after.
50 and sunny,
Take your waste out?
get rid of your paint and all that stuff, and then swing over to Dick's and get 20% off all your sports purchases. So, so I thought that, you know, I'm very pleased with the way that's going. Our fiscal year ends the end of June, so we've got one more meeting to deal with that, and then I'll be the former chair, so I have one more meeting to run, and then that's one less thing for me. So any questions on Devon's? Before I get to the update on the ATM, I just wanted to mention one thing briefly. I have had the honor of being, and I've accepted, being asked to serve on the Perkins School Board of Trustees in Lancaster. I've been impressed for years about the type of work they do. The image that people have of them is that they serve school-age kids, which they do very well, but they really, at this point, have programs from preschool all the way to elderly people to be able to support. So people of any age can avail themselves of programs over there. They've been very, they've really have quite an offering over there now. And the meetings are quarterly on Friday mornings normally from, well, it was 10 to 12 when I signed on, now it's 9 to 11. They did a bait and switch on me, so. But Friday mornings are usually catch-up days for me anyway, so and I don't have any standing meetings that day, so it really shouldn't impact my schedule, and I'm really excited about being part of the Board of Trustees over there. And then finally, just an update on the annual town meeting warrant. You all received the latest version today. I'm not sure which version it is, but since our last review, I just want to give you some highlights of what's changed. The new Article 4 is what we discussed at the last meeting, which is a placeholder. I think it's more than a placeholder at this point, but it's an opportunity to inject more money into the advisory reserve fund to get us through the end of the year, which I think is probably going to be necessary, unfortunately, just because of some of the expenses, largely snow and ice, that we run into. And as I was talking with some of you earlier before the meeting, although 7-day forecasts aren't worth the paper they're printed on right now, they're talking about a significant storm for next Wednesday night into Thursday. Hopefully it blows out to sea with the others that blew out to sea this week. And aside from that, just to update you, and this is as of Tuesday night's advisory meeting, the following changes have been made to Article 27, which is on page 20. The dollar amount for the article was changed to $36,000 at the advisory meeting of February 27th. The advisory committee approved a transfer from the reserve to fire department for the purchase of new Jaws of Life. Therefore, the amount that was originally requested, I believe was $47,000, has been reduced to $36,000. Next on Article 32, the dollar amount is the same, but in the summary, we have changed the number of boilers from 12 to 8. In Article 33, the dollar amount of the article has been reduced from $15,000 to $5,000. There was approximately $10,000 remaining from the $26,017 approved in Article 26 at the May 2013 annual town meeting for flooring, and it can appropriately be applied to the estimated $15,000 to complete the project for this year, because it's basically for the same purpose. There was a question about whether or not the that article could be combined with Article 32 because of the small dollar amounts. I personally thought it should be kept separate because while one is for Florence Sawyer and Emerson, the other one is simply for Florence Sawyer. So I thought, since we have that differentiation, we should keep it separate.
And they're very different uses.
And they're very different uses, exactly. Article 34, the previous Article 34 has been deleted. There's approximately $12,000 remaining from the $15,000 appropriated last year for a new intercom system at Emerson School. Also included in the article was $22,500 for interior door hardware replacement at Florence, none of which has been spent to date. It was felt that the need for that article no longer existed, so it has been deleted. And the previous Article 35 was deleted as well. The repair and replacement of the lockers is now proposed to begin in 2016 and continue at $10,000, I believe $10,000 a year for a maximum of 5 years. So looking out at the 5-year plan, that work has been pushed out. So some articles were changed, some articles were deleted.
Great.
I'm working with, just as an FYI, I am working with Carol and the Conservation Commission to look at deleting the current Article 30. I believe we're going to be able to do that, but I'm anticipating a Conservation Commission vote on March 18th, which would confirm that, and once they vote to do so, we can remove that article as well, but I'd like to let the Conservation Commission weigh in on that. So I believe I've covered all of the changes that I know of anyway for the warrant. So do any of you have any questions on the warrant?
I don't, not yet.
No.
Okay, it is currently being proofread. I don't pretend to believe that Linda and I and Jim Anker have caught all of the typos that are in there, so. And if any of you spot anything, please let us know.
David?
Yeah, after the Tri-Town last night, Michael, Terry, Nancy, and I were talking, and Michael said it wasn't really 8 boilers, it was 1 boiler with sections or something, and there had been something wrong with 12 sections, and now there was something wrong with 8 sections. And I didn't fully understand it, but it might be well to have Bill Cleary read over the...
I'll give Bill a call.
Yeah, and it didn't, when Michael heard 8 boilers, he said, no, so...
I didn't understand 8 boilers myself,
Yeah.
but I didn't question it. I'll just give Bill a call and
Yeah.
we can sort that out.
Yes, Tim?
One other, just a comment on these boilers. We had appropriated $75,000 last year for boilers at Florence, I'm trying to think, at Emerson, and there was some confusion as to whether this was related to that, and it is not. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't, it was 19,000. There was some boiler work done at Emerson last year, which hasn't really been done yet, but it had been appropriated. This is totally different. That was a hot water boiler, this is other boilers.
You know, when I wasn't able to attend the Tuesday meeting, but when Mr. Cleary came in, my understanding is some of the money that we had appropriated last year for work hasn't been done yet.
Quite a bit of it. And there was, for every item, and I'm sorry, I don't think I brought my list, but for each of the items that had not been completed, he had a reason. We did, so for example, they chose to go ahead and do the majority as a flooring. And again, I'm sorry, I don't have the dollar amounts here, but they chose to do that, and that's been pretty much completed except for a small piece that was already slated to be done in 2015. And so the question we had was, was it the appropriate use of time to do flooring versus not doing interior doors, because he said that he didn't have the time before school started to do the interior doors. So we questioned that. I mean, it's a judgment call, and he had made the choice, the decision to do one without the other. And his reasons for not getting everything done pretty much is just school started. And we did ask if you have done some of the work during vacations, and I guess not.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So unless the board has any other questions for me, that's all I have under my report.
Nope, that's it. The next up is a discussion regarding the options for retaining or trading in the current ambulance. Margie, you want to come down? How are you tonight?
Good, very well, thanks.
have the handout.
Thank you.
Some information on it. This is in addition to the handouts we've already talked about. This is kind of putting together things that we have to consider. Um, Things we have to consider when talking about whether or not we should retain the current ambulance in addition to purchasing a new one. Obviously, we're doing just fine with one ambulance. This is an opportunity that we have to expand and have two ambulances in town because we currently only have one. I think it's something that we should seriously consider because we only have one ambulance. Right now, we're relying on mutual aid when our ambulance is out of service, either for repairs or when it's out of town with patient transports. And that's working, but as our call volume increases, so does the call volume of towns around us. It's an opportunity that doesn't come, it comes along every 7 years or, 5 to 7 years when we get a new ambulance, so I think it's something we should seriously consider. So the trade-in value right now is between $30,000 and $35,000 of the existing ambulance, so that's obviously money that we would not be able to spend or would not receive, receive back. We did take the old ambulance over to the current ambulance over to the old fire station, and it does fit. We would have to change some of the antennas to make sure that they don't consistently rip off the roof, but it does fit in there. Right now, we would only have to make some slight modifications to the old fire station. The door that we would enter through needs to be replaced because right now it's just locked, the padlock. That wouldn't make sense if we were going in there consistently to get the ambulance out. The ambulance is required to be kept at a temperature-controlled environment, but I did talk to, I think last year when we were being inspected, I talked to the ambulance inspector and he thought that we could maintain that temperature-controlled environment with a block heater, which our current ambulance already has, and a space heater that would just be plugged into a shoreline within the garage. The space heater would actually sit in the patient compartment because that's really what needs to be heated. So I don't know that that's ideal for the rest of its useful life, but short term, that would really be the only modifications we're talking about. Obviously, we'd have to maintain it and we'd have to, pay for fuel. We'd have to have it inspected and licensed. I mean, we'd have to actually, it would keep its current licensure. We would have to license the second ambulance. We'd have to maintain those licenses. And so there's some costs with that. There is some equipment at the old fire station that would have to be relocated. Not a lot, but there is some stuff, nothing huge, nothing that couldn't be stored in a storage unit that could live at the fire station.
What sort of equipment would fall in that category?
Right now, there's several snow blowers that the DPW uses. There's a light tower that we would be able to use. Fire, EMS, and police use that. So that kind of stuff, it's not really huge, but it's...
Has to be somewhere.
Right, it's not something you can tuck in a corner, so. Some advantages to keeping the ambulance, obviously, if we're out of service for any reason, maintenance, repairs, that type of thing, we would have ambulance to fall back on. We have had instances where we have multiple patients, so we could conceivably transport, we've had multiple patients and enough personnel to handle multiple patients, so we could conceivably transport or take two ambulances out on the same call. We have had instances where we've had simultaneous calls opposite ends of town, or, you know, just concurrent calls, so we could, and we have had the personnel to maintain that, both calls, so we could use it then.
And that's happened, I mean, just in the past year, you say that there are probably 30 instances in which that actually happened, 2 calls within
Yep.
2 hours, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Or within, so we say that our turnaround time is about 2 hours, so the ambulance is already en route to the hospital with another patient, and we have another call. And right now, we send personnel to that call, we call in mutual aid, so the patients are taken care of, but we could take care of that internally if we had a
But
second
in
ambulance.
that 30 calls in the past year, were there always personnel available
That
to
was
staff the
difficult.
second?
Yeah, that's difficult to determine based on the way that I did the statistics, but I would say yes. We typically have we average about 4 people on call. And by state regulations, we only need 2 in each ambulance to transport, so I would say yes. And my staff is very cognizant of the fact that I watch to make sure that there's not, you know, too many people going on each call. We understand that we're not trying to just make money on calls. So, you know, oftentimes they just won't go to the second call, or if there's more than 4 people, they just won't go to that call. So I feel pretty confident that we could hit a majority of those calls with 2 ambulances. And just some statistics on, you know, how many people we transport per year. You know, 238 patients were transported last year, and that was 992 hours that the ambulance was out of town.
So Mark, I'm sorry, that's 238 patients out of roughly 400 calls?
Yes, yeah, so we have a lot of calls where patients refuse treatment, and we don't make any money for that, or we don't bill for that. But we're there just in case they need service. Other positives, increased coverage at community events. The last road race we had, we actually brought in an outside ambulance because we were worried about crowd control and there was extenuating circumstances. We had the
That's right.
personnel to take care of it. We didn't
And
have.
Mr. Lowe out there on the road.
Yeah.
I have my own ambulance.
Right. We had the personnel to take care of it, we just didn't have. The ability to participate in task force, the state has task force, so when large events occur outside of our area, you kind of start moving ambulances and resources towards that event. Right now, we're not part of that because we only have 1 ambulance, so we can't move stuff and leave our town uncovered. This would allow us to participate in there. It's not a huge thing, but it is something that'd be good, and it is experience for our EMTs. And then the ability to train, you know, to participate more freely in training opportunities. We have MCIs every year at Clinton Hospital, and you know, if they're like one year that Boylston hosted the MCI, and I felt very uncomfortable sending the ambulance all the way to Boylston. So our people went, but our ambulance didn't. You know, just there's a lot of driver training classes that you can go and participate in, but it's bring your own ambulance, and can't send anyone with my only ambulance. So it's those kind of things that are nice to have. The thing that I stress out about the most is when the ambulance is out of town and we're not covered.
So we don't customarily respond to mutual aid because we have to cover the town?
No,
or-
we respond to mutual aid. Just
Well, would that occur, how much of an increase in that would you see if we had the second ambulance?
I don't think that there would be any increase. I don't think that people would call us more often just because we had a second ambulance. But it certainly would not take away from our own resources in town when we went there. So, you know, we cover Lancaster, Harvard, Berlin, the same as they cover us.
I guess looking at the costs, you have a line of $3,000 for fuel and maintenance, and I assume that's regular scheduled maintenance, but there's no estimate on repair, so obviously that would be in addition. And one of the
Yes.
impetus to get the new ambulances is that the incident of repair
Yeah.
is higher. So that's one, that's not factored here. What about insurance, to insure the second ambulance?
That I'm not sure about. I don't
I
know.
don't know what the additional cost, we haven't costed that out. We can do that pretty easily, but we haven't done that
Yeah,
yet.
well, in the worst case, it would be the cost of what the first one's.
Right, I mean, right, that would be the worst case. I don't know what the cost is now. We know what the cost is of keeping the current ambulance, and we don't know what the cost is of insuring the new one, I think is what we would need to look at.
Well, no, well, true, but it'll be at least the same or more, or it could be a little less, since it's a newer vehicle. But
I would imagine it would be.
But as a ballpark, whatever that dollar amount is, you can go plus or minus.
That's right.
Going back to the maintenance, the break fix stuff, I still have that in I have my last year's budget in this year's budget, the amount that I had, because we weren't exactly sure if I was getting a new ambulance or not. So that's already factored into next year's budget. So that might help a little bit. These numbers,
What's the number that you have in?
I don't remember. It's,
Presumably, this is, the current one would be used less, so there'd be hopefully less maintenance required.
yeah, hopefully it would,
I mean, it would be under warranty too.
it would be
Well,
under
the
warranty.
new one would be under
Yeah.
warranty, the old
Oh,
one.
the old one
the old one
would be used
wouldn't
less,
be
I
used-
see.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
much, yeah.
What, as far as the equipment in the current ambulance, what would have to be upgraded to, is there, I mean?
Yeah, there would be very few things that we would have to
The
purchase.
antennas,
to
you know,
Yeah,
you
the
mentioned what-
antennas would have to be, but as far as maintaining it to meet state regulations, there'd be very few things that we'd have to purchase, just because we maintain, like, the big one is a stair chair, because you only have one of them. Well, we just got a new stair chair, but we kept our old stair chair, which is still functioning pretty well, so.
Mhm.
We have that kind of stuff that could go into the second ambulance, so it's not like we'd have to try to outfit entirely. There would be a few things that we would have to purchase. Your disposables are, that's not a big ticket item, but it wouldn't cost much to outfit the new, and things like the cot that we have in the current ambulance, that's actually probably the biggest ticket item. We would be looking to get a new cot with the new ambulance anyways, because the existing cot's 10 years old, so that would just stay, it's in good shape, it's regularly inspected, but that would just stay with the ambulance.
If you were interested in repairs, it's $5,000.
Stan, can I ask a question?
You sure can.
How many patients can you put in the ambulance? Can you put 2 patients in
You
it?
can put, our current ambulance, we can put 2 patients in the ambulance. We're seeing more and more often that the newer ambulances are really only set up for 1, but you can put 2.
What about the one you're gonna get, the new one? That be?
We haven't decided yet, we haven't really, I like some of the designs for the 1 patient, but I also kind of like the idea that we can put 2 patients in there. Particular motor vehicle accidents, and there's 2 people in the same car, you want them to go together. You don't necessarily want, let's say, the 2 people that got into the accident. That doesn't happen very often anymore, though. We usually see that it's either more than 2 people in the accident, or it's just, single people in the car.
And I think, we really would need a little bit clearer budget estimate to see what the actual, anticipated cost would be, fully burdened cost would be to, because yes, you might be able to transport more patients, but, does that cost outweigh the cost of maintaining the vehicle?
Yeah, and a lot of this is just, I don't know, I've never had 2 vehicles before, so I just don't know, what it would cost. I can look and see what, we talk a lot about the maintenance of the current ambulance, you know, so I can see what it has been. I just don't know what it would be in the future. I probably have that here.
You could probably assume,
Yeah,
you could probably assume whatever the maintenance and repair was for last year might just continue. It's gonna be used a little bit less. You know what you're paying for insurance now, so that carries over. You know, the cost to heat the old fire station, you know, or put at least a space heater in there,
yeah.
since, you know, that building is not insulated to the best of my knowledge.
No, I don't believe it is.
So,
Yeah.
I know how much my electric bill goes up when we have a little extra heater in the bathroom in the morning when we take a shower. so.
Right, right.
I know you and I discussed this before, Margie, but is there currently sufficient electricity or electricity
Yes.
capability in the building?
There is, yes. I had, Brownie and I went over and inspected it, and I asked him, I said, well, what do you think the electric bill will be? And he said, I have no idea, so, and I don't even really know how to go about estimating that, but that's one of the big unknowns. I just don't know.
We'll take a space heater and bring the ambulance to your house and plug them both in and let us know how much your electric goes up. David?
Yeah, the way I think this might work is we would lose the 30 to 35,000 on the trade-in.
Correct.
And that would mean we would have to save more aggressively in the ambulance receipts reserve fund because we will have net spent more 30 to 35,000 more for the ambulance. And we take out what we aren't saving in the ambulance receipts reserve fund as revenue for the town. And this happens over a 5 to 7 year period. So if, to take it at its maximum, we forego $35,000 for the used ambulance, and we go 5 years to the next one, we would have to take $7,000 a year less out of the ambulance reserve fund to apply to the town budget. So there's a loss revenue of between $5,000 and $7,000 if we just if we don't get the 30 to 35,000 trade-in value, plus the other things you've been
Right.
discussing too. So you sort of have to add $5,000 to $7,000 on top of whatever other.
Whatever we think the annual cost.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right.
Offset by whatever additional income there would be from
That's
the
right.
additional
yes.
calls.
Yeah, the additional calls. Right.
So-
Yeah.
And at the end of the 5 to 7 years, presumably the current ambulance would then be disposed of and
No,
the,
but it is.
well, no,
Moved into
in 5
reserve.
years, the current ambulance, which would be the reserve, would be disposed of. The new ambulance would become the reserve. So there's still, 5 years from now, there will be a trade-in, which will not be, I mean, it's not gonna go to
It'll
zero.
be the double old trade-in.
Yeah, it'll be, yeah. It may not be, it may not be well, it may not be the 30 to 35, you know.
Well, we got $10,000 trade-in on the last ambulance we traded in, which was 11 years old. So,
You get what, 800 roughly for reimbursement on each run?
no, I think it's 525
$525.
average. Yeah.
So there were 20 calls that required mutual aid, so maybe you'd use the second ambulance 20 times, and on half of those you'd go to the hospital.
Correct.
So you might be generating $5,000 a year of incremental revenues.
Right. Which sort of offsets
More or
the
less,
trade-in.
yeah, maybe,
You know,
yeah.
so it's more the operating costs to maintain, to keep it.
Yeah, well,
Right.
and we also have, I mean, not to lose sight of it, and Margie did an excellent job of breaking it out, but, there's gonna be the annual cost to store the equipment that needs to be relocated somewhere, whether we rent space or whether we buy some sort of a unit to store it in. So certainly we would have that, and aside from the obvious reason to have Margie in tonight, which is to discuss whether or not we should keep the ambulance for a second ambulance, this also in my opinion, is a driver to how we approach the old fire station as far as maintenance and so forth goes. If we are going to keep the second ambulance and store it there, then there are certain things we need to be doing in our planning to sustain the building. If we're not going to keep the ambulance, then you may go in a different direction for how you want to sustain the building. So this really is the driver for how we approach, ongoing maintenance of the building.
So what happens to the old fire truck?
It actually will fit. The ambulance and the old fire truck will fit side by side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. That was one of the biggest reasons we wanted to get. I was worried about the height, but I was also worried about that, but they will fit.
Cool.
Maybe while Doug's building his pole barn dugouts, we can have a pole barn storage building for the.
Yeah, that's right.
Would there actually be room somewhere in the public safety building to store the stuff that's in the old fire station?
No, not at this.
Really? Somewhere on the second floor there?
No.
No, most
Sorry to
of
get the
it-
snow.
Yeah, it's still Anyway,
Depending on how the earlier conversation about dispatch goes, maybe, but.
True. Yep.
So I know it's a hard pill to swallow. It's real money, but it's also an opportunity we don't always have. And
Well, I would say Margie would not be doing her job if she didn't bring the issue forward, and I think she's done a good job of pulling all this information together.
So right now, when we borrow an ambulance, when the current one has to go in for service and we borrow, that's just under mutual aid?
yeah.
Or is that
yeah.
just the goodness of the?
It's, well, yeah, it's just the goodness, and it's, if they don't have, like, we called Clinton one time and he said, I'm down in the ambulance, so I can't lend you one, and, Boylston was, fortunately had their spare, but, they go through the same thing we do, so,
Didn't know if there was any opportunity where you can rent it out to
yeah.
towns. No, I mean, if there has to go in for service, I mean.
We probably wouldn't rent it out, but we certainly could loan it out, just, and it just helps build relationships, and,
Yeah.
The first time I borrowed an ambulance, I was so, like, panicked, like, what if something happens to it? I think I called Don, I said, do we have to worry about insurance, like, all that kind of stuff.
You actually just go and pick it up, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And we have definitely gotten a lot of goodwill from Clinton and Boylston on the loan of their spare ambulance.
Yeah, you could pack a lot of stuff in for a tailgating party. Yes, David?
When we are the recipients of mutual aid, one of these 20 instances, who pays the EMT call wages for that?
We do.
We do. Okay,
So we know that we're not gonna, there's no chance to make any money, but it still costs us something.
Okay.
So that's,
And that's true, the 525 is not a net figure, right? The 525 is what we bill the hospital.
no, the 525 is an average of what we bring in.
Net of the call EMT wages.
No, oh, no,
No, that's a gross
No,
Those are
that's the gross
yeah.
reimbursement.
Yeah, it doesn't,
So on those 20 calls, you'd have to take out the call wages too, because
correct.
those are things you wouldn't be doing otherwise.
Right.
When you had volume.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can just get a really clear
So
picture.
would you like Margie to come back on the 20th, or would you like me to report out on the 20th with the open questions? How would you like to proceed? Because we will need to make a decision on this at the next meeting.
Probably wouldn't be bad to have Mark come
Yeah,
out.
I think that would be best.
so the big one, the things are insurance, maintenance, and then we'll have to try to,
Yeah, insurance, repair, electricity, try to gauge what that's gonna be, because I don't think that's gonna be an insignificant amount of money.
no.
Because essentially,
Particularly winter like this. one.
essentially,
Right.
that's gonna have to run
Last year
pretty
we
much
got-
constantly
Yeah.
from,
Well, we'll be hedging our rates in about another month.
Yeah,
Let's hope.
Yeah, we are. We already have it scheduled.
and I don't think we have to cool it, I think it's just we have to keep it at a certain temperature. I
It's a
don't-
minimum of 60 degrees, isn't it?
Yeah, so I don't think they care if it's 100 degrees in there.
Yeah.
The patients might.
Well, is the block heater sufficient to keep, because, I mean, diesel, diesel has a tendency to coagulate in really low temperatures.
Well, you believe that it is, that the block heater will be sufficient, right?
Yeah, that's what the state told me
Okay.
when I
For
sent
the
it.
engine, but you have to also heat up the compartment.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
So the space heater is
They
back.
work in,
Yeah.
yeah,
Alright.
they work in
Nice.
tandem.
Okay, all right.
So you said the 20th?
Yeah.
And we'll try to do it, well, we'll need to do it a little later in the meeting anyway, but
Perfect, yes.
but we will have,
Yep.
we'll have other things going on earlier.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
All right, next up is our business, and I guess we have some minutes to review.
Yes, you do. You have regular session minutes of December 19th, January 9th, and January 23rd. And then executive session of the 19th and December 19th and January 9th. Oops.
Yes.
Can I have a little sidebar down, or you want guys?
Sure.
While we're doing this important approval of the minutes, I move that we approve the
Yeah,
regular minutes
yeah.
of December 19th, December 19th, 2013, January 9th, and January 23rd, 2014, as well as the executive session minutes of December 19th, 2013, and January 9th, 2014.
Second?
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
When we go into executive session, you can say that we will remain for the second one, we don't have to come on.
Okay. All right.
That's it? I'm just confused about the regional dispatch.